Howdy y'all, Caleb here. We've got a battle report for today. I took Seraphon, of course. Alex Cross said a couple days ago, I know you want to play for fun, but I'd love to see you play a tournament try-hard list just to completely stomp on someone to confirm what we already know, that Seraphon are the best. And I said, yes, I'll make one of my friends play a Fangs of Sotek list soon. So that is, of course, what I did. I begged my friends here to let me play a Fangs of Sotek list again and run a couple pictures on that so I can do a battle report. So that's what we're doing. We've got some Fangs of Sotek versus a Tempest Eye list today. So let's look at the list real quick. Alex, I hope I make everybody proud by stomping somebody with Fangs of Sotek. So I think what this list I took is pretty standard for a Fangs of Sotek. I do have first, if you don't know too much about what Fangs of Sotek is, that is in the Starborn allegiance for Seraphon, and so that gives everybody bravery of 10. It gives you some summoning, not a whole lot. You get D3 for your Salon, D3 for Astrolith Bear, and you can sacrifice a spell for another D3 summoning points. So maybe you can get a unit of Skinks every turn, not all the time. So you also get one teleport per turn, and in Fangs of Sotek, you get +3 to your move for all your Skinks in turn 1. And if somebody charges your Skinks or Chameleon Skinks, then you can spend a command point to shoot them and then possibly Weary Fighter away. And so some pretty useful stuff there. That speed is awesome, and the Weary Fighter has some utility, as you would know if you played Seraphon a lot back before our new Battle Tome. It's a pretty useful ability. So I took Lord Kroak with Stellar Tempest as his spell to kind of deal with some hordes if I got into that. I took the Saurus Astrolith Bear as my general, and I took the command trait Old and Grizzled. Now you can, if you don't want to make him your general, you can get some other command traits, but I actually kind of like this one because in this list, this is a command point generation machine. So Kroak has 3 chances at getting extra command points in your hero phase. Old and Grizzled gets an extra command point on a 3-up, so it's pretty awesome. And then my 2 Starpriests, they're going to have a chance each at command points. So you should have a pretty good chance at a lot of command points. I think if you hit on all of them, you'd have 7 command points per turn. Yes, please. That's also, this army has a lot of stuff we spend command points on, and so especially that shooting when they charge you. And so I'm going to be spending as many command points as I can generate. Usually trying to keep some in the in your pocket. So if you get double turned or something, you have enough to battle shock and fight if they charge you, or shoot if they charge you. So that's why I'm taking him as my general, just to get some extra command traits there, or command points. My 2 Skink Starpriests, one of them is just going to have the Serpent God Dagger. I mean, that could be useful maybe on like a Stegodon. What the Serpent God Dagger does is it lets you, if you damage somebody with your melee weapon on a 5-up, you just slay that model, which is pretty awesome. But all the heroes in Fangs are usually not melee focused, and so I don't want any of my heroes in combat. But he'll be up in the fray, so we'll put that on him. Another Skink Starpriest. I do like to double up on Hand of Glory, which is basically reroll hit rolls of 1. It's a nice spell, so I don't have to use a command point, but also I double up on it because these guys are pretty weak, and they'll likely end up getting sniped. So having that redundancy there helps a lot. Usually, you can't cast them both in the same turn, but I've got some endless spells I'll be casting too. I've got 2 Skink Priests, so you can kind of guess. I've got 2 Battleline of Skinks maxed out, and those Skink Starpriest and Skink Priest will be hugging those 40 Skink hordes to provide them with some shooting. I've got 5 Saurus Guard to stick around with Kroak, give him some extra wounds. I've got a Salamander hunting pack. These are my teleporting targets. So you're going to try to teleport them around the table and kind of use them as a scalpel, where you're using your skinks as, I don't know the right analogy, just you're going to throw dice at your opponent is what those skinks do. And then 5 Chameleon Skinks to kind of round that out, just to give me a little bit more mobility. They'll be able to ambush in anytime I need to. Endless spells, I'm taking the Balewind Vortex. I'm taking Bound Geminids. And I'm taking an extra command point. I do want that extra command point since I don't have any battalions. I'm going to have a lot of drops. And if I do get charged turn 1, I kind of want to have the threat of I can fire off a unit of skinks if I want to. So that's my list there. I think it's a pretty standard Fangs of Sotek list. You got a couple big hordes, some salamanders, and all the supporting heroes that go along with that. One important note I want to point out is in Fangs of Sotek, you're really fast. So your skinks, they're moving at 8 inches, but Fangs adds an extra 3 inches. And your Skink Priest can let you run and shoot. And so you have an ability to get these guys up the field. I ran this number here. This is our Skink Movement. So their base movement is 8. If I get the prayer from the Skink Priest, they're going to be running and shooting. So we're going to add 6 inches to their movement there for a run. I'll probably spend a command point if I need to. We're getting to +1 because I'm going to put the Constellation to +1 to run and charge, just to give them some extra distance on their movement. And then we get +3 from Fangs of Sotek. Now once we add in their shooting range of 18 on the blowguns, they have an effective threat range of 36 inches. I mean, that's basically what we call board wide. So that's pretty nice. That means these 2 big hordes are going to be hitting whatever they want, really. I mean, in Fangs, they have such good movement. Even if you don't get the run and shoot, you're still at 29 inches. And if something's not in range, you could teleport that blob after you've buffed them up. So there's a lot of good abilities there, a lot of speed. You can really surprise your enemy if they give you first turn. My opponent here is running a Tempest Cities of Sigmar list. And so we'll take a look at what that looks like. Tempest has a couple different things, and it's actually fairly similar to Fangs of Sotek. You get an extra 3 inches of movement in turn 1. You have some shenanigans. You can run and then command point a unit to shoot. So you have some tricks there. One really nice thing that they have is in turn 1, they get +1 to their save for the entire army. And so they're really hard to shift in turn 1, which is kind of where Fangs wants to put all of its damage. I'm going to try to do as much damage as I can to you in turn 1 to cripple you so that I can outlast you the rest of the game. So what looks to be a pretty good matchup. He's taking a Dreadlord on Black Dragon with the Lance of Spite and Tyrant Shield, so that means he's getting another +1 to that Black Dragon's save. And so he will have a 2-up in turn 1 on that guy. So not too bad there. The Seer Stone Amulet gives him a 4-up extra command point. So he's got a way to generate some extra command points there. He's running an Anointed. And if you could see what that Anointed's in the list for, it's for this giant block of... Well, I just crossed it out. This giant block of Phoenix Guard right here. And that Anointed's going to give them Battle Shock immunity. He's a decent little foot hero. He has a good command point for those Phoenix Guard. He's tough because he's got a 4-up save, 4-up ward save, and so he can dispel a spell and an endless spell. So not too bad. Definitely a good foot hero there. A Rune Lord. Now this is an interesting pick, and a Rune Lord. It's only 90 points, but it's got a great utility for an army like this. If you've got 90 points to spare and you think you're going to come up against some magic, this guy's awesome because he gets, I think it's +2 to his Unbind and Dispel for endless spells, which you don't ever really see that kind of pluses to a Dispel on an endless spell. So this guy's really good against endless spells, and if you're going against some magic, he's a good one to take. Lord Aquilar is his general. He's bringing in some Stormcast, and he's going to have a command trait of Hawkeyed. What that does is that gives a +1 to wound, I think, for something shooting. And so he's going to pair that Lord Aquilar up with these Vanguard snipers. He's got 9 Vanguard Raptor snipers in this list. And so now they're going to be hitting on 2s and 2s. And if he wants to, he can run these guys with +3 to move in turn 1, +1, and then he can command point to shoot them on 2s and 2s after they've run. So these guys, which are normally really slow, actually have, they already have good threat range. I think they shoot 30 inches if they don't move, 24 if they do. Don't hold me to those numbers. I believe that's what they are. Played against them quite a bit. And he can also kind of drag them along with this Lord Aquilar if he needs to kind of move around the board a little bit. So it's a pretty good unit there, pretty good pairing. And those guys can put out a ton of damage. You never want to be on the other side of 9 Vanguard Raptors shooting at you. He's also got some handgunners to fill out his battle line and some Free Guild Guard. 80 points of Free Guild Guard. Which, with the shields, they're actually kind of tough, and especially in turn 1 when they get another +1 to their save. We talked about the Phoenix Guard, just a giant block of 4-up infantry. They're really tough to remove. And then we got some Shadow Warriors that are going to be deployed off the board and will be popping up to try to score objectives as needed. He does come in at 1980, and so he did roll for a triumph and got the re-rolling saves, I believe. So, all right, that's the list for Tempest Eye. Kind of unique list. No carriage run overlords in Tempest Eye, but I think he's trying to make use of that extra shooting with the Raptors, the extra movement with his other stuff. So, I like the list. We are playing Starstrike, which we will. No objectives on turn 1. Turn 2, you'll have one drop down somewhere here in the middle, and then turn 3s on the territory in your own territory. So the objectives are worth whatever battle round you're in. So this is one where the longer the game goes, the more it can still swing. As long as you got models alive, it can swing hard. Because those turn 5, if you can control all 3 of them, that's 15 points. That'll swing a game real hard that way. So here's our setup, and you can kind of see I'm favoring this left side here. You might notice Tempest Eye has a terrain piece. Look at that. They've got a Realm Shaper engine over there. Yeah, I lost the roll off for my own terrain piece, so he's now got a garrisonable giant pyramid over there. So that is a man, love that roll. So I've got my 2 big blocks of skinks here, and they've kind of got a channel here, and underneath this little stone table I can fit them to hit his main block. I've got my salamanders kind of far off to the left out of the way in case he takes turn 1. At least hopefully he can't snipe him there. He's got a lot of movement though, so if he teleports him with that Aquilar, he could hit him if that was a target he wanted. I've kind of got my support heroes back here hanging out. These 2 guys are hidden behind this rock, and then Kroak is behind this rock with my plans of putting Balewind Vortex right up on that rock so that he can get another plus to his save. These 2 guys are over here. Gonna buff this block and kind of strung them out a little bit just to block maybe any kind of shenanigans coming off the board like Shadow Warriors or something, just from getting into my support heroes. Astrolith Bear's here to help that casting, and then Saurus Guard to take wounds. Chameleon Skinks are obviously off the board. I'm playing just to the left side, just on the off chance that most of the objectives fall on this area. It's a 66% chance it's going to fall in the area I'm on. If not, I'll just teleport over to the right side and get to him. He's got just some chafe units out here, his guard, his handgunners there and there, just to make sure I can't get anything within 9 of his blob on a teleport. so he's kind of zoning them out pretty good. He's got his dragon in the very far back, Aquilar, his small heroes with the line of snipers, and then the big old block of Phoenix Guard. So that's kind of how we're setting up. And he lets me go first. He wants to try for the double turn with those snipers, which would be devastating. But I've got enough range. I think I can do damage in turn 1. I think later on in the game, he confessed that he didn't quite realize just how far the Skinks could go turn 1 and get into his important stuff. And maybe he would have taken turn 1 if he had known. But, yeah, it's kind of hard to know after the fact. Normally, you don't think of these little Skinks having a 36-inch range, spitting out mortals. Yeah. There's his stuff there. Check out that black dragon. I think I've shown this one on the channel before, but it's a great little conversion with the Carnosaur and the Stardrake head and wings, and he's got the Dreadlord on there is I don't even know what kit it's from, but it's pretty sweet looking. And you can see his snipers lined up back here. His little Rune Lord hiding behind the Phoenix Guard. So I do take in turn 1, kind of run through. We get all the buffs off that we needed. We got the runs for both of the skink blobs, so that's good from the Starpriest. We got our Balewind sitting up there on top of the rock, so now Kroak's on a chair, on a tornado, on a rock, you know. So his save is now a 2-up save with a 2-up pass off and then a 4-up after save. So Kroak's pretty tough to kill right there, which will help if the snipers get into him. Now snipers can spit out some mortals, but we're looking to take care of them in this turn. I got Hand of Glory on these skinks and then spit out the Geminids from this Skink Starpriest. It wasn't quite far enough. If I had deployed him up like here, I probably could have gotten those Geminids into his Phoenix Guard, which, you know, do a couple mortals, but more importantly, you know, make them -1 to attack. Would have been nice. But they're out there. They're there for a threat. He'll have to deal with them, or I'll drag him across his entire support army in the next turn. Because bound endless spells are awesome. So we get off some spells. I do some board-wide mortals, hit a couple heroes. I start putting that spell into the snipers as well. But he's not in range for any of the spammable spell, just because of where I had lined him up. I didn't want to take the chance of him taking turn 1 and me having Kroak like right on the line and Kroak getting sniped by those guys. So I did play a little bit more conservative with Kroak. Sometimes I like to throw him just right on the front line so I can put that Balewind out in front of him and then hit their front lines with his spammable spell. But did Mystic Shield. Arcane Bolt was able to hit one of his heroes just because I've got the extra 6 inches from this guy and extra 6 inches from this guy, from the Balewind. And I think that was all for my hero phase. Into movement. So these guys had some incredible range. I didn't even need it. All I wanted to do was get into the snipers. I'm not going to worry about his heroes or anything else. I just got to get rid of those snipers. I'm terrified of those things. I've been shot to death by those things way too often. So I'm getting rid of those snipers. That's my goal. And so I could have run them all the way. I could have gotten them all the way up to that dice there, but I don't think there was really a need for it. So I could get all those shots in onto his snipers that were back behind the Phoenix Guard at this range. And so those skinks ran up underneath this table. And it also kind of limited how many Phoenix Guard he'd be able to get around me. I'm kind of squished in here. Maybe that'll hurt my my mobility later, but it makes me feel protected. I teleport my Salamanders. I didn't really have a good target for my Salamanders, but I wanted to get them shooting something turn 1. And so I put them here in cover on this stone slab, and they're able to shoot at these Free Guild Guard. Not the best target. I mean, frankly, it's a pretty terrible target. I mean, there are only 80 points. I don't want to spend 330 points on just 80 points of chafe, but it's the only thing really in range. that I could teleport onto. And I like them being in cover here, because now they've got a 3-up save. They're going to be hard to deal with, and they should be able to last for a little bit here and be able to spit some mortals into whatever's alive in my next turn. We do end up clearing those guard off. I think I left one alive after the Salamander shot, and he fled from Battle Shock. So my other group of skinks ran up that middle side and was able to put some fire onto those snipers here in a second. I did summon in some skinks, put them at the max extent over here just to block any like shadow warriors or something trying to get onto my onto Kroak. So that was my summoned. I used up all my summoning points for that one. And on to shooting. So now we pick up a bucket full of dice, because this is 160 shots from skinks into those snipers. Just about all these guys could hit them. There were a few that couldn't, like maybe that back row or something, and they went into the Phoenix Guard maybe or something like that. I can't quite remember. But just about everybody was able to hit the snipers. And so that's a ton of dice. You're hitting on 4s, because I spent command points on them to give them +1 to hit. Rerolling 1s for that left unit. And on the wound roll, 6s are mortals. And so we're able to spit out quite a few mortals. And those snipers have 2 wounds each, so that's 18 wounds. They are +1 to their save. But those mortals, he didn't have any save against those mortals on the snipers. So that was chewing through them. And it ended up killing off all the snipers turn 1. You can see them all gone there. So we killed off all the snipers. We killed off all but that guy. And it looks like maybe I shot the back skinks maybe into these handgunners or something. So overall, that was turn 1, and I'm happy with that. I've killed off his long-range threat. He still has a huge block of Phoenix Guard, which I'm pretty worried about, and I've committed my entire army right into their faces. So he's going to hit me pretty hard with those Phoenix Guard, and that's a little scary. So, but I took out his long-range threat. I'm not worried about that anymore. I think my heroes are pretty safe. They're gonna get chipped a little bit by the handgunners, and they'll go down eventually. But he's gotta have to deal with this big threat here in the middle that's facing his Phoenix Guard, and he's gonna have to deal with these salamanders that are sitting off over on the wing. So he can't. It's gonna be hard for him not to split up his forces on that one, just because of the threat I'm presenting there. So that's the end of that turn. I did end up with 2 command points in the bank. I'm saving those for the skinks to shoot if they get charged, or battle shock if needed. So he brings his black dragon on his turn. We still don't have any objectives yet, so we're still just playing kill each other. So he brings his black dragon over to these salamanders, and he's got good movement on that black dragon. It flies, and so he's going to get into those salamanders, and he's currently, that dragon's at a 2-up save, so he's going to be hard to deal with, and he has the potential to do some damage. So he's got -2 rend on a couple different attacks, especially when he charges, so he can do some damage there. So he's bringing that guy over there, and he brings in his Shadow Warriors into my Realm Shaper engine. Defiled the Realm Shaper engine. So he brought the Shadow Warriors in there just to kind of snipe onto these salamanders, and so put some damage on them. I think he knew he wanted to try to kill them. They weren't real effective, to be honest. Because those salamanders are in cover, they have a 3-up save right now. And so they are pretty hard to take down. And I don't think the Shadow Warriors may have killed off maybe 1 of the handlers. So I'll take that. You can see over here the Phoenix Guard charged into the Skinks. He did dispel Geminids turn 1. And that may be about it. He put quite a few wounds onto my Skink Starpriests. They were getting pretty low. He sniped them with his handgunners. And there's this Phoenix Guard going in. His Anointed is here to buff, and his Rune Lord is staying kind of back. His handgunners are staying still just so they can get extra shots, or they're +1 to hit, maybe, or +1 to hit, I think, on their shots when they don't move, something like that. So that was the end of his turn. So he crushes those Phoenix Guard into the Skinks, and I think in total, so they were able to shoot, so they were able to kill off a couple Phoenix Guard. They did not weary retreat, and to be honest, he didn't really do a ton of damage. I think in total he killed 14 Skinks between some of the handgunner shooting and the shooting from the Dread Lord. He was kind of hooking his shot back over left, and then the Phoenix Guard. They didn't quite do as much damage as I think he was hoping. These Skinks are on 4-up saves, so that's kind of nice because they got their prayer from the Skink Priest. So wasn't able to kill nearly as much as he wanted, and I used my other command point to save them in battle shock. So that was the end of that turn. The objective fell right here in the middle of the map, which was right under my Skinks and the Phoenix Guard. So I mean, it was in a. I would have much rather had it either on the left or right, but right there in the middle, we have a lot of guys there. If he gets the turn, I think he'll be able to clean up the rest of those Skinks just from that one block, and he'll probably be able to kill off the Salamanders. We'd have to see with that Dread Lord. But I think he could take this objective if he gets the turn. If I get the turn, it's going to be a whole lot of shooting, and I don't think it's going to go well for the Phoenix Guard. And there's a roll-off. The blue dice is mine, and I win ties because I went first. So 5-5 roll-off, and I will most definitely take the turn. So in my turn, I don't need the run and charge anymore, so I turn the Constellation over to +1 to cast, and Kroak is able to now hit most of what's out there in front of him. He's able to get the Phoenix Guard and the Anointed, and so he's hitting them. We also get out Geminids, which makes them -1 to their attacks, and hits this guy and kills off the Rune Lord, who was right there. So they're able to kill off, do some damage there. I put another spell from the Skink Starpriest onto the Phoenix Guard. So now the Phoenix Guard are -1 to hit and -1 attacks. So that's pretty awesome. There's still quite a few of them left, so I know I need to focus fire on them, and that's what we do. So Salamanders. I forgot about the resolved combat from the Dread Lord. I think he killed in total 4, maybe 5 handlers, and so they were fine. He had -2 Ren, but when they're on a 3-up save, they're going to make a couple of those saves, and they did. And they were able to fight back and put some wounds on him. Well, on this turn, they were able to shoot and then fight, and they were able to clear his wounds. No problem. Salamanders are fine. Oh, gosh. They're so powerful. They're so powerful. So, I did bring my other... There's this Phoenix Guard. We bring both of those big blobs of Skinks just all into the Phoenix Guard from the left side and the middle. Just everybody going into the Phoenix Guard. And we're able to clear off the majority of them in combat. I put a few more shots maybe on the Anointed just to make sure I killed him off. And I think I may have. This is the first game I ever remembered to shoot with the Skink Starpriest and the Skink Priests. I always forget they have shooting attacks, and I think they are the ones that actually killed the Anointed. It was pretty hilarious that their little bolt staffs, whatever they're called, took out that hero. So everybody else was able to focus on the Phoenix Guard and took all of them out but 2. And we put all the melee attacks into them, and they were finished off. So at that point, we got a cinematic shot. He's He's trying to hold the line. Where'd all my brothers go? So at that point, it was pretty much over. So we looked at our options here, and he conceded in the middle of turn 2. That, guys, this is why I don't really bring Fangs of Sotek against my friends, because nobody wants to have 180 dice rolled at you every turn. But it's also, I mean, it's pretty powerful. Now, I did get the turn. I think if I hadn't gotten the turn, it would have been a lot closer. Would have a lot closer game. I wouldn't have been able to shoot off all this stuff. I probably would have lost that middle unit. But I think in the end, I probably still would have survived and won this game. Just based on that first turn of shooting. Taking out the snipers was pretty big. That was his major threat to the board. And so I think that was critical in ending this game early. So here's how we finished. So middle of 2, Fangs of Sotek. I had lost, I think, 20 skinks, and I had summoned 10 more back on. Okay? In a turn and a half from Fangs of Sotek, I had killed 9 Vanguard snipers, 30 Phoenix Guard, the Rune Lord, the Anointed, and his Dreadlord on Black Dragon. So basically, and 10 Guard. So all he had left was, about 2 units of handgunners and 1 unit of Shadow Warriors. It just wasn't going to be enough. Really, wherever the objective fell at, he's never going to take the middle back from me. So I'm going to hang on to that the rest of the game. And wherever mine falls, I can get to it no problem. So it just looked like it was a foregone conclusion at this point that I had the game easily in hand. So Fangs of Sotek, man, Alex Cross, I hope I made you proud. Really stomped one of my friends and his Tempest eye list. I like his list. It's got a good hammer with those snipers and an awesome anvil with all those Phoenix Guard. It's just that turn 1, me scooting all the way across the board and just pouring fire into snipers was real deflating for him. Not deflating. I mean, he knew what he had volunteered as tribute to the Fangs of Sotek list. So it was a good game. Well, I had fun. Thanks, Joe, for letting me roll dice at you for a turn and a half. And I look forward to seeing what they do to nerf Fangs of Sotek in the points changes that are soon to be coming. So overall, Fangs of Sotek, it's good. Start painting up those skinks because you're going to need a lot of them. All right, guys. See you next time.